We have here this video from Destin that is an interview with Jonathan Rogers, game director for Path of Exile. It is called Path of Exile 2, how the tier edit patch 0.3 has brought us closer to release. This is awesome. We want to know as much as we can about the patch, about the game in general, about what is coming, everything. I am hyped as fuck. So let's just see this bad boy.
Jonathan, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much for the presentation about Path of Exile 2.
No problem.
So, you're getting rid of cruel difficulty, and you're replacing
Thank God for that.
Interlude and Act 4. Why come to the conclusion that you just need to get rid of cruel difficulty altogether?
Well, I mean, after 0.2.0, one of the big pieces of feedback we had is like playing through the campaign as a slog, and like there were multiple reasons for that, but ultimately having to play through it twice is certainly not helping. So there's obviously things like sprint and so on, but yeah, we really knew we were just like, okay, we have to get it. The other thing as well is like, okay, so we're adding Act 4. How would it even, like, you need to have 6 acts to get to the end game. How would it even work? Would we make you play through like 4 acts and then 1 and 2 again? Or like, there kind of wasn't really like a good answer there. So, okay, we have to find a way. It's going to take 20 areas of problem.
Everybody was going crazy about this, by the way. People were saying they are going to make us play cruel again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There is no way they do 1, 2, or 2, 3, or 3, 4, or just 1, or whatever. People were going crazy. That is why they can't introduce just Act 4. They have to introduce Act 4 and 5 and 6, or at least 4 and 5. And then they came out big dick swinging. We destroy fucking Cruel and we just give you the interludes. And I love this idea. This is awesome. This is going to be out of the game later, by the way. So when we are playing PoE2 in 5 years, in 10 years, just like the PoE1 veterans say right now that, oh, I played PoE1 since there was only 1 act in the whole fucking game. We are going to say in the future, I have been playing PoE2 since it had interludes, motherfucker. What the fuck? You can't even play the interludes anymore. Get fucked. I am an OG.
Approximately to get you from the end of Act 4 to the end game. We just need to have something that we can put there. And so we're like, okay, let's, what if we made some cool side stories? Sure, we can do a bit of reuse, we can do a bit of things like, it won't be the quality of like a full like act, but it will be something that, will hold up to a few playthroughs that, enjoy. As for new bosses, we can use all that stuff again in the end game later. So it just kind of made sense. Now, people were certainly at the studio were a bit like, what? You want to add 3 more acts? Like there was certainly like a bit of contention about the suggestion when I first made it. But I think it just turned out really well. And it's a really cool thing. And, people who get to play now get to enjoy that and then it'll go away.
You're just gonna have them go away. You said they're temporary. Why not keep them in there? Like, is it like a
ultimately the bosses and the art will all go into the end game. So ultimately none of it's really lost. But I don't know. I guess I just.
By the way, and Jonathan said in a different interview that what happens in the interludes is canon in the lore. So the maps don't go away. They are going to be used in the end game. The bosses are going to be used in the end game, and the lore is canon. So although you won't be doing it when the full campaign is out, it is not wasted. Like the whole thing matters. It is not wasted work. So that is also cool.
It kind of, they just wouldn't really fit anywhere as far as, the overall campaign and stuff are concerned. Right? If I put them randomly as like optional in the middle, it'll be like, okay, well now you're going to get over leveled during them. It kind of just doesn't work, right? So yeah, better to just fold it all into the end game and use it later. I think that works better.
Well, I'm very excited to try them out for a limited time only. So
yeah,
you can check out the game. Definitely try it out. How's Path of Exile 2 development going? It feels like you've hit a stride in terms of your releases for the most part. And I love chatting with y'all like every quarter about, so it's been really nice. But from your perspective, how has it been going?
Well, I mean, it's certainly been tough to get both PoE1 and PoE2 development at the same time. But yes, I would say that we've kind of gotten to the point now of making it sustainable. But still, it's like, effectively our company has to release something every 2 months, and that's tricky. Path of Exile 2, obviously, it's because we're effectively developing the game at the same time. It's like a bit more work, so it's stressful, right? Like this release has been pretty damn difficult to get together. But overall, like I'm really happy with what we've gotten. I guess the main thing really is I just want to kind of get to the point of like, where we've got what we need to get out of early access to get to full release. And ultimately there are 2 things we need, right? We need to finish the campaign, we need to get the balance and the gameplay to the point where everyone's happy. We're like everyone agrees that, this is good, like the PoE1 players are happy, the new players are happy, like everything's kind of going well. And once both of those 2 things are true, then we can go out of into full release. And so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. But, I'm pretty happy that we're going to have gone a lot of the way there with 0.3.
That is awesome to know. By the way, in all the interviews that Jonathan has been saying, that he wants to release the game. Like people sometimes talk like they don't want to release the game. Brother, he's more desperate than us for the game to be fully released because he wants to get into the point where he just has to worry about the new leaks. that is way more chilling in terms of the work structure and cadence that they have to do in the company compared to what they are doing now, where they are still doing leaks, and on top of that, they are building a new whole fucking game. They are doing a lot of work. They are stressed out. They want to be done with it so they can chill. Jonathan himself said this. So he wants to get to the point where the game is ready, the game is done, he releases. Now they just do leaks and they are chilling, cool, relaxing. But right now, it is the point where everything is on fire and you are trying to do it, you know? So, hey, we have to have a little patience because they want to do it even more than we want to play it.
And are all players happy right now?
Well, not right now, not in 020, but 02X, I should say. But you know, as I said, like this is 03 is really kind of intended to be like every problem that you had, we've got an answer for it. You know, we don't necessarily have the right answer yet, but at least we have an answer for each thing there, and then you know we can continue to work on it. So I think it will go a long way.
And this is true. I think the only thing that I can think about that players have problems with that they didn't try to address. I have to use the word try to address because they are addressing problems, but we don't know if how he's saying it is a correct solution, but they are trying. The only thing that they didn't try was the towers. Okay, we hate towers. Nobody wants to do towers. I get it, man. And the layouts, and that goes hand in hand with towers. But outside from that, they try to address everything. The support gems, the speed, the zones, the fucking imbalance, like the trading, that is the biggest one, fucking trading, like progression in endgame with the steps to the pinnacles, a new link mechanic, crafting options, like they are addressing everything, dude. We have to wait for the towers, though. We have to wait for the towers.
I'm still wrapping my brain around the whole trading mechanic that you're adding with this next release. That's huge. A lot of these games, they either don't do trading or I don't know. It's just sort of crazy that you've implemented it. Now, as a newbie perspective, like navigating the store and everything has been a little bit tricky. How did you land on this as the solution? I'd be really curious to hear about the iterations you went through and how you landed here.
Yeah, so ultimately with trade, the thing you have to be worried about is hyperinflation, right? Like there has to be some mechanism that prevents it from like high frequency traders effectively just like ruining the market. Because in a game, you've got the situation where like the stuff that's low level is ultimately worthless to the high level players. And so that goes to nothing. And then the stuff that's at the very top end, that becomes the only thing that ever matters. And so it becomes worth like bajillions of dollars equivalent.
And that is going to happen. I think it doesn't matter if it happens because having the cool trading is worth it. And also it depends the degree to what it happens, to where it happens. You know what I'm trying to say. Like the difference between the lower end and the end game and the upper end can be, it is a spectrum. It can be closer or it can be higher, right? Let's hope it is not as high as possible.
In currency. So effectively, that's what you're trying to prevent. And the way that you do that is you have to have some kind of roadblock. And previously, effectively, what the roadblock was making it so you had to manually trade. And the thing that sucks about that being the roadblock is that ultimately it's like the reason why the trade is slower is because it's less fun to do it, which is like not really the best roadblock you could have. So effectively what we've got now is the roadblock of gold is the thing that prevents it from happening too often. And the reason why that's quite interesting is because in most games,
it depends, and I have to think they are just releasing it now and they are going to tune it out later. But it depends on how much gold it is required from you, right? Because I have to think it is hard to measure the amount of gold for trading. If you need too much gold and trading once is a pain in the ass, then you are pissed off because you are having to constantly farm gold to be able to trade. But if it is too cheap, then you just trivialize the whole thing and it is like having nothing. So you want the sweet spot where it is meaningful that you have to pay, but it is not annoying to get the gold to pay, you know? So they have to tune it out in there.
Account binding for items, and then the gold is freely tradable. But in PoE, the gold is the thing that's bound, the only thing that's bound, and all the items are freely tradable. So we kind of have this unique opportunity here to like use the gold as the way to kind of limit the system, because if you were to, in order to keep trading, you have to keep playing to get more gold. And that means you can't write like a bot that's just going to sit there flipping items all day because, it'd have to be playing the game as well. And so that.
There is one way you can buy gold, by the way, guys. I am going to explain to you how you can buy gold. Unless they change this. You go and you join a Discord that is called TFT, The Forbidden Trove. And there is a channel when you can basically give someone exalted orbs or divine orbs, and they give you full inventories of rare useless items that nobody cares about. So when you go and you sell them to a vendor, the vendor is going to give you a shit ton of gold. So you are able to get gold by doing nothing. The thing is that not a lot of players know this. This is only like a 2% of the community doing this shit. But it is possible for a flipper, for a hideout warrior to be all day long in the fucking hideout without farming gold ever, because they can just trade for gold in this way. That is what I am trying to say.
That kind of means that that's where we kind of end up with the whole like the buyer pays a fee thing going on. That's been pretty good. But the other thing I wanted to do is I still really liked that whole like you actually like there's something nice and quaint about the whole like, I'm going to go to someone's hideout and like interact with them and like have that whole stuff. So I was kind of like I still want to retain that. So then the idea of like you go to their hideout, you still get to see that. Sure, maybe they're not there at the moment, but like they've still got the whole thing. They've got a shop. You can see the other stuff they're selling. Like it just adds to that kind of like nice like
This is my new policy from when I start trading with the new system. Since now getting a trade is not going to be a pain in the ass because you can just go to the next hideout, just teleport there and get the item. If I teleport to a hideout and they had an anime girl hideout, I don't buy the item from them. I TP again, I go for the next guy. If you have a normal cool hideout, I take your item. If you have an anime girl hideout, I go away and I don't trade from you. Fuck that. You have to thank God that I don't work at GGG in the moderation team, because I would ban anime girl hideouts.
There's like an old school MMO thing that kind of was like back in the really old days. We'd create player shops and stuff like that. Like I just really like that stuff. So I think that it adds to that part as well.
One thing that seems like it might be lost though is me being incredibly cheap and doing my best to barter with people to get them to come down a divine orb or two. So that I can
well, you can still try messaging people, you never know. But the other thing is just like finding a deal that someone else didn't notice, right? Like, there's the whole, what do you call it, the garage sale element, like digging through those piles of crap to see if you can find something good. So maybe you'll have that mechanic going on.
That's a fun way to think about it. I love garage sale. So.
Yeah.
Rise of the Abyssal, it's exclusive league for PoE2. What were you able to do in the PoE2 engine that made it stand out from anything you might have done with one of the PoE1 leagues? Like what additional resources do you have available to you?
Well, the first thing is that we wanted to make sure that we were like, so this league is similar to a league we had in PoE1, which is the Abyss League. But we wanted to make sure, first of all, that we're just fixing all the gameplay problems that PoE1 had around this. So that was like the first thing. And that's kind of like making sure there's no backtracking and that kind of stuff. But ultimately, the extra stuff just comes down to like, we've got much better combat system stuff, like, what monsters can do, like all of these kinds of things. Like, I wouldn't say it's necessarily like direct, like, oh, the engine lets us do this, but it's more just like, the standard of quality for what monsters and bosses have to do in a PoE2 context is much higher. So it just ultimately ends up with like more stuff. But one of the things I really did want to ensure this time was that we had as much as possible the interaction with all the other different mechanics, because that's what kind of stacks up and kind of gives you interesting situations in the end game. So having all the stuff where it's like, oh, if a rogue exile's on top of it, you get this situation, and if there's an essence on top of it, you get that situation, and like, there's things like wisps can go down the hole and interacts with that, and like bosses, and like this kind of stuff, like having all these like combining elements is something that I think is really fun for a league to have. And so that's kind of, we're making sure that we've got all those hooks in to the league to make sure they can all work across the different content too.
I love this, by the way.
Got it. Can you tell me anything more about Lineage Support Gems? Like, how are those going to work exactly?
This is one of the coolest things about the patch. I truly hope that we can interact with the system. I know that there are some support gems, some Lineage support gems that are going to be really rare, and they are supposed to be rare, and I am cool with that. But I hope there are some that are usable, not complete dog shit, but that you can use them because they are good, and they are not that rare. Even if they are not crazy, but that you can like interact with the system. When something is so rare that you don't interact with the system, or it basically doesn't exist for a lot of people, that sucks too. And I like fundamentally what the system is. So I think, I hope we can engage with the Lineage Support Gem system.
Yeah, so effectively what we wanted to do was like, we were kind of like, what if a support gem was unique? Like, what would that be? If it was a unique item. So effectively, we wanted to make it so there was more chase things to find in the end game. We also were putting a lot of focus on the support gem system this time around to kind of improve it. And so what you end up with is basically their support gems that you can only have one of them in your character. instead of them being easy to get, they're like hard to get like uniques are because they're kind of more of an in-game thing, but they're very powerful. And so like as you find them, they're going to give you really like, just like significant upgrades to your character. And there kind of wasn't enough of those like really chase cool things to find in in-game. At the same time, we also like wanted to have them drop like uniques in the sense where, some of them are in the world, some of them are, from specific bosses. Like, you can, a lot of people are like, I want the specific thing for my build. I'm like, what boss do I have to go to fight to get it? Like that kind of stuff is quite fun to do. So, like effectively you get to do all of that stuff. But yeah, ultimately they're upgraded, really powerful support gems that.
It is also cool that he's saying is cool. Like when you are looking for a drop, and it says, I don't know, let's throw it out there. Like, well, this Yule drops from, or this support gem drops from Simulacrum, and you say, well, I am going to farm 1,000 Simulacrums until I get it. That is cool. That is cool. To me, that is cool.
You can have one off, and there'll be significant upgrades.
I do appreciate you making some tweaks to the support gems because it means I get to find a new broken thing and use it for a season. I got an odd one for you. Okay, so it's about social media. I see a lot of narratives that people kind of come to on their own accord on social media, and often they're incorrect, or there's a maligned interpretation of intent. Mr. Beast comes to mind off the top of my head. I was thinking about that a lot this week. I'm curious, how do you, as a developer and a creator, how do you parse actionable feedback from feedback that is maybe from a fan who isn't quite getting the intention of a mechanic? I know that's
all you have to do is watch my videos. My videos are the good feedback. That is all you have to do.
It's a really heady question, but I was just sort of thinking about it, and like I'm curious to hear how you manage that.
Well, so the most important thing to me is that whenever anyone is angry on the internet, they're not just angry for no reason. There is something behind the issue, right? So even if they're wrong about, or at least in my opinion, wrong about the exact thing they're saying we should be doing, at least they're definitely not wrong about the fact that they're angry and unhappy about something, right? So the key thing really is just getting into.
I always told you guys, Jonathan is based as fuck. When you were angry in 0.2, insulting him, saying he didn't know what he was doing, he didn't get pissed off. He didn't say these guys are retards. He's recognizing, okay, they are mad because there is something wrong with the game. We are going to fix it. That to me is Giga Chat behavior. That is based as fuck. Good for you, Jonathan, my dude.
To the depths of like what the actual problem is, but you do have to be a bit honest with yourself sometimes, because it's very easy to react negatively to negative feedback when you see it, and so you always have to kind of take the whole you have to look at it as like, what can we do to improve? What would make this person actually not angry right now, and try to come up with that. Even
brother, this is Giga Chat. This is life philosophy, by the way. If you apply this behavior to other things too, it is good, dude. It is good.
It's not exactly what they would necessarily say. It still has to be something that is going to satisfy that. So, I mean, 0.3 is all about that. Like in 0.2, we had like a huge amount of negative feedback around a lot of different things. We had to really look at like, what are the things that are going to do that. And right at the start of the league development cycle, we put up a big whiteboard. We're like, what are people saying about the game, right? People say that the campaign is a slog. People say that there's not enough builds. People say, that trade sucks and that kind of stuff, right? Like we weren't putting it in terms of
that was the number one for me. Trade sucks dick, and they are doing the thing, brother. I love it. That is the number one thing for me in the league, by the way, guys. Because it was the number one thing that the game needed for me, even more than the Druid. Like, the number one thing I wanted the most was the trade system. And they are doing it. I thought they already said they were going to do it. But I thought there is no way in hell this comes this league. I thought it was going to come for 0.4 or 0.5 or even 1.0. But they gave it. They are doing it right now. I am hyped as fuck just for that, dude.
Solutions we're putting it as, what is the problem people have? Like, big list of them. What is our answer to all of these? What can we do about them to kind of try and and fix these problems? And so that's that's kind of what we've been going, like, just like have an answer to everything, try to make sure that we're actually like moving things forward. And I think a lot of people will give you latitude for, like, even if like you didn't necessarily get everything perfect, at least if they can see that you're trying, it goes a long way. Like, that's the kind of thing that
it does, brother. We do see that you are trying to address the problems that the players have, and that is fucking awesome.
These people, we want to make people, we certainly don't want people to be saying you're not listening to us, right? Like, so long as they feel like we're actually trying legitimately to fix the problems that they have, then I think that you can go a long way to, making people happy and getting that sort of more positivity in the community.
Okay, that's kind of cool. Well, I had a thought there, but I want to ask.
How the fuck do you say that is kind of cool, dude? That is based as fuck. That is Giga Chat behavior.
Your free weekend, so. You're about to do a free weekend Path of Exile 2 as you head towards the full release, when the whole game will be free. I know that you can get in by purchasing the supporter pack. You can get in early, like anytime, by doing that. And people are loving the game already, loving it enough to complain in some cases anyway. But I got another heady question for you. Once the game is done, how are you going to make that full release feel special when you've had so many special beats on the path so far?
Well, I'm sure that like there will definitely be some kind of league or content coming out along with it. Like, you know, one thing we are good at is making a lot of content. So, you know, like there will definitely be new stuff. I don't know whether it'll be in-game. Like maybe it'll be that Act 6 is the last part that comes out. I'm not sure exactly, but like that's because I'm not sure exactly when the full release will be, because ultimately, you know, we have to get everything to a point of good balance and everything. But I have no doubt that we will find something. But honestly, one of the surprising things about it is that there are a lot of people who haven't played the game because it costs money, right? There are a lot of people out there who just don't have the money to buy a game.
I have a ton of friends that haven't played the game because it costs money. Just like that.
And so it might surprise you. This number isn't going to be exactly right because I don't remember the exact number, but there was something like only like 35% of the players who played PoE1 in the last year have played PoE2. There's still 65% of the players who are waiting until it's free before they try it. So like definitely in any case, there's going to be like a huge uplift just from something like that.
Dude, that is insane. And even then, PoE2 had the numbers that it had. So PoE2 brought a bunch of new people that never played PoE1 to the PoE space, like myself. And now I am also a PoE1 player. And I love it. I think PoE1 is awesome.
Now, that isn't the exact right number, but it's something around that. It's like it's a relatively lower number than what I might have expected. So yeah, I mean, just the fact that it's free is going to be a big differentiator for a surprising number of people.
Okay, so well, what about do you have something sneaky planned for the campaign when it concludes? Like, we
will see. I mean, look, there's a lot of cool stuff at the end of the. I mean, yeah, there is a lot of cool campaign stuff going on at the end there. But what I'm not sure about is like whether on like what parts of that will get in during early access and what parts will happen right at the release. Like
I will say something about the story. I know that a lot of you guys don't give a fuck about the story, and that is cool, my man. I am liking the story in Path of Exile 2. I think it is cool. And when I finish the campaign, when they finish the campaign, right? You finish the story, and then we go to maps and we continue. You know something that people don't like about D4, what I think that they are doing that is cool? It is that the story continues. They are releasing expansions, paid expansions, which I know sucks, but the story doesn't finish. Something that Path of Exile 1 has is that you finish the campaign, and then the campaign stopped, and now we are continuing the thing in PoE2. You will say, no, yes, but the leagues have a little bit of a story and lore and here and there. Yes, they do. But they don't actually continue the progression of the story, right? I know that they still have more lore in the endgame in PoE1, but it feels like disconnected, like it doesn't continue. What I am trying to say in PoE2, I am not meaning that every new league has to progress a story. What I am meaning is that I don't want to wait for PoE3 for the story to continue. At some point, maybe 2 years, 3 years, I don't know, do something to progress the story. Unless they just end it definitely in when PoE2 ends. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely don't think we would want to not have Act 5 in early access at some point, because that's like a big piece of content. But Act 6, I think we might be able to hold till the full release, but I'm not 100% certain. It's going to come down to playing it by ear and how things shake out, I guess.
Okay. More importantly, did Darth get to see the Druid when he visited you guys for a week?
I did show him that. But
brother, that is cool. That is insane, brother. That microtransaction. So the Druid, brother. Oof, dude. I am so jealous, dude. I thought that I was never going to be jealous of somebody, but that makes me jealous, dude. Brother, the end saw the Druid, dude.
So that was a class we really, really intended to get in for this release, and unfortunately, it just kind of couldn't quite happen. Like we've got our philosophy that we're really trying to stick to of like we don't delay the actual release. Like we have to make sure that we're being regular with that, and I just didn't. If we had tried to get the Druid into this one, it would have delayed it out a bit, and I think
I agree, by the way, completely with this. Although you guys know that I really wanted the Druid, I prefer the philosophy of I am going to release this date, and if something isn't ready, we delay the feature, but not the patch. I like this more. I prefer to wait for the Druid, but I am getting all the other cool shit, right? Than to not get anything and then have to wait for the whole thing. Nah, fuck that. I prefer knowing for a fact that every 2 months between PoE1 and PoE2, I am going to get a league, no matter what. I love that. I am loving this shit.
That just would have been a mistake. So, I mean, It'll definitely be in the next one. I say definitely, but of course, you never know. But but yeah, I can't imagine a situation where we wouldn't have a class in the next release.
Is it something Gar said when he visited, or?
Let me hear that last part.
To this one, it would have delayed it out a bit, and I think that just would have been a mistake. So, I mean, it'll definitely be in the next one. I say definitely, but of course, you never know. But but yeah, I can't imagine a situation where we wouldn't have a class in the next release.
Is it something Gar said when he visited?
Okay, he can't imagine a world where next release doesn't have a class. So we know for a fact that in December's patch, we are going to get at least one class. That is awesome. We are going to get our Christmas gift.
Or...
I don't know. He I like to show stuff when people arrive. So, he's definitely seen it.
I'll always ask when you think launch will be, but I'm going to say that for just a little bit later. For now, I'm curious to hear from you. What additional items do you feel need to be in place before you're going to be confident enough to launch? I know we sort of talked about it already, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Like, I'm not trying to pressure you on launch or anything like that. I'm more curious about the development cycle. I'm curious as a developer what that roadmap looks like for you, where you're like, okay, now we're ready.
Right. So obviously the campaign has to be done, right? That's like, just goes without saying. But the other part just has to be that we have to get to a point where people generally agree that the game is good and solid and that they are willing to play it again multiple times and that kind of thing, right? So we have to be we have to trust that, because until we've got to that point, I don't want to launch into whatever like negativity might come. So negativity might come that way because we really don't want to ruin the.
This is base as fuck, because if you release the game 1.0 free to play, everyone can play, and the game is in a bad state, that can completely ruin the future of the game for you. Bad reviews on Steam, videos saying that the game sucks, and bad word of mouth, and that kills the game. You have to be sure that when you drop the game in 1.0 free to play for everybody, that is a good patch that people are going to like. Because if you drop the ball there, you doom the future of the game. And that has happened to a lot of games. So this is base as fuck that he's saying this.
The full release. And so what that means is effectively I'd have to have a release where people like it, and then I have to have another release after that where people also like that. And if that happens, we know that we don't have this like problem where a bunch of negativity is hiding under the positivity. If you know what I mean. So we've definitely fixed all the problems that were a problem for the last one before that. So I'm certain now that it won't be December, right? Like I thought maybe it could be, but I'm certain now it won't be that. Might be the one after that. That's what I really, really hope to. Like, I want to get this done as soon as I can. Like, I really don't want this to go on for years.
I have told you guys that no one wants to release a game more than Jonathan. My prediction, when like a couple of months ago, when they announced that they are going to do 4 months patch, my prediction is still, I made this prediction and I maintain it. I think it is going to be like that. Is that the game is going to be launched officially in 1.0. I am like 70% sure for April, and then the other 30% for August. It is not going to be more than August next year, right? April 2026, August 2026 tops. I don't think it is going to get to December next year, because at that point we will be 2 years in early access. They don't want that. So my prediction is, I think April is the most likely 1.0.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
And if we don't make it for April, August tops.
So I'm hoping it'll be the one after that, but we'll see. But the first thing is get it to a place where everyone's actually happy, and solve people's problems, fix all the issues. As I said, we hopefully are going a long way with this one, but we'll see how things go.
You said not this December, the one after that. So December 2026 is...
No, not the December after that. I mean the release after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is April, which is the one I am saying.
We'll be releasing every 4 months, so that'd be March, I guess. For the release after that. So it could be March. The next one after that would be potentially August. So these are the different. Since we're releasing every 4 months and we know exactly what month it is in, people will know it's one of these dates. They just don't know which one it will be. And honestly, we don't know either, right? Like it's going to come down to.
He mentioned the ones that I am saying. Dude, I am telling you, I predicted this shit. They announced it this months ago, by the way. When my prediction come true, it will be another one of the shit that I have predicted. Like, I am 100 out of 100, by the way, with my shit, just so you know.
How things go with the releases, how people receive them, and so on.
Yeah, I'm more asking out of curiosity. I'm excited for y'all for when that date happens because I think a lot of people are gonna have a good time. Dawn of the Hunt, you got a lot of feedback about Dawn of the Hunt. What's something you feel that really worked, and what's something that really did not work?
Well, I mean, it's easier to see the stuff that didn't work because of all the stuff around that, and ultimately, I don't think it was Dawn of the Hunt itself exactly that was the issue. Like, I don't think it was the content that was the problem per se. It really came down to there are a lot of nerfs, so that's never a good thing, as far as like, you break people's ability to know how to play because, they were doing a thing, it worked, then they do the thing now and it doesn't work, which is, always going to be a bad time. And at the same time, there weren't enough fixes to problems that players actually had. Like the funny thing is that almost everything that people complained about in 0.2.0, they were also complaining about in 0.1.0. The difference was you didn't have like the other 90% of people who were happy about all the new stuff and cool bosses and everything, like covering over the fact that there was like a bunch of problems. You know what I mean? So effectively, like 0.2.0 is like, okay, well, we knew about all these bosses, we played them all before. Now it's just a whole bunch of problems you didn't address. And so,
hey, this is true. This is how you analyze the stuff. This is true. Like in the 0.1, we were in the honeymoon phase, discovering the game. The campaign was awesome, the bosses. But then 0.2 comes. The honeymoon phase is away, and now we are only facing the problems. This is true. Good analysis.
it's like, okay, well, now we have to make sure we're addressing all that stuff. So that was kind of the main thing that we really had to do. I mean, as far as the stuff that worked, I mean, I think all the content we released was good, right? Like that, there was no problem there really. It just came down to not fixing stuff that was bad.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I always liked the game, but I know fans had some issues with it. So look, I don't consider myself a pro. I think I've made that very clear in most of the content that I make. I approach the game from a novice perspective, and I actually find that fun. I find that I actually do pretty well in Path of Exile 2 if I stop, I read everything, take a beat to plan out my build, and play the game. Do you think Path of Exile 2 is really as difficult as people make it out to be, or is that more of the lore of Path of Exile at this point?
Now that I have played both games, I can tell you properly that not even Path of Exile 1 is as complicated as people make it out to be. But it is complicated. I am not going to lie to you that Path of Exile 1 is not complicated. It is. But people make it out like, no, it is impossible to figure this shit out. It is not. It is not. You just have to play the game and read and look for information, and you will figure it out. Trust me. And PoE2 is even simpler. PoE2 is not 1/10 of the complication that PoE1 has. So I would recommend, obviously, you started with PoE2 because it eases you into the franchise. That is what I did. I learned a bunch of bullshit by playing PoE2, and that made it easier for me when I played PoE1. Also, both games would benefit Jonathan of giving us more information because the games don't explain shit. And you have to look for information outside of the game. That is a big problem that both games have, in my opinion. Some people like that because that means that you have to... They think that makes you good at the game. Researching information about the game makes you good at the game. No, motherfucker. Everybody can do that. Some people just don't bother doing it. Right? So the game will benefit from having more information inside of the game, in my opinion.
Don't actually think it is that difficult, no. There is a thing, though, of expectation where if you're like a veteran ARPG player, you kind of have an expectation of like being able to blast through the game with like very little, like without having to worry too much, if you know what I mean, about that stuff. And so that's where I think a lot of people who are like veteran ARPG players sort of run into problems. Now, we're trying to kind of like improve things for them too, with like in various ways. But it's like, I don't think that, it's sort of funny actually, because I remember one of our developers, shouldn't even say this, but it was one of our developers who was like watching a streamer like have like a really bad time and just like suck. And then he was said to me, like he messaged me with like, I don't understand how I'm a so much better player than this guy who plays the game full time. It's like, it's kind of a funny situation. So you sort of get into things like that. But the reason...
Okay, guys, if you stream the game, if you post videos about the game and you suck and they watch the video, they know that you suck. GGG, never watch my videos fighting the Uber bosses, please. That was not me dying 1,000 times to Maven. That was a clone of myself that was dying to Maven. The real me one-shot Maven, by the way. Uber Maven, we are talking about in here, by the way. Just so you know, But yes, now you know that they watch streamers be bad at the game and they say, this guy sucks. This guy is a professional streamer, plays 12 hours a day, and he sucks. You know what I think? I think that is base behavior. That is Base GGG right there. Makes me want to work there even more.
I think it's because they have an expectation to be able to get through the game fast, to be able to, like to feel successful very quickly and that kind of thing. So I sort of suspect that's like part of the concern there. But as I said, I do believe we can get things working and like to make it so that both groups are happy. But yeah, it just takes a little bit of effort, various changes to make it work.
I won't tell Rax if you won't. No, just kidding. Early on, you said there would be a lot more focus on story. I remember talking to the team and how excited they were. Camera quit out. Let me just switch that really quick. Got to back up.
Scoffed as fuck. I relate. I relate.
Let me adjust that really quick. Sorry. Give me 2 seconds. I don't know what happened. We'll just go with this one. All right. So you said early on that there was a lot more focus on story. I admit I actually paid attention to most of it. I didn't think I would, okay. But I like that it wasn't forced. It was sort of interjected at important beats as rewards for like defeating key bosses and such. How do you plan to keep that momentum? And will we see any more of the CGI moments? Why or why not will we see more of the CGI moments?
Yeah, so Act 4, I would say, actually probably has even more of that kind of like good storyline stuff. In fact, some of the stuff that we're doing in Act 4 with story stuff is actually quite a lot better. We've actually got the character talking a lot more often to other NPCs in Act 4, and we're actually going to go back and maybe re-record and actually redo quite a lot of stuff earlier in the game as well in that style. At least that's the plan.
I like that, by the way. I do like when your character, and depending on the class you are playing, they say different stuff. Says random stuff when you find something cool. I always use this example. My favorite moment when your character talks is when you are in the caravan and you go to the front of the caravan and you see the slaves, and every character has something to say about the slaves pulling the caravan. Like, those things are cool, and that is what he's referring in here. That in Act 4, there are a lot of those moments. I love it. I think that is cool.
So there's actually quite a lot more going on there. We've got more storyline moments of like not cutscenes in the sense of like a CG rendered thing, but more cutscenes in the sense of like Half-Life style, where you can still walk around, but there's a cutscene happening in front of you, like that kind of stuff. Like, we quite like that stuff as well, so we're doing more of that. But at some point, like there may or may not be other CG things as well. We've got some pretty big plans for Act 5 and 6, so I guess people just have to wait for that. But ultimately, CG cutscenes are really expensive to make. You can't do them too often, and the in-game stuff even is surprisingly hard too. But like having more of that stuff. I just don't like to interrupt the gameplay, but having more of that stuff kind of,
But to be honest, Jonathan, the one you did for the start of the game where Count Geonor fights the Hooded One, it is a really good scene, brother. It is a really good scene, cinematic, however you want to call it.
Within the play space, while you're fighting a boss, there's a thing going on and that kind of stuff. Like, I do like that stuff quite a lot.
Got it. I do too. Yeah, I like the story a lot more than I thought I would. I thought I would just skip everything and not really pay attention to it. So it was like a pleasant surprise, like getting to figure out how these characters evolve. Do you ever worry about adding too much to Path of Exile 2 to the point that it's overwhelming for a new user? Like, I lapsed for a few months in Destiny. I have like 3,000 hours in that game. I hop back in and I don't know what the heck's going on. How do you manage adding cool new things without doing too much or introducing too much too fast?
I do think they are worrying about this because this is one of the common complaints people have about Path of Exile 1, that there is too much shit. So they have to be aware of this for PoE2. Let's see what he says.
As the player progresses.
Well, I think the main thing is that we've got an advantage of is the fact that there's the expectation that you play through the campaign again each time that there's a new league. And that effectively means that we get to kind of reset the expectation, because like we introduce things slowly through the campaign. It's like if there's a few extra things through the campaign, it's kind of okay and things still work. So if you come in and just like play from the middle, you probably will lose a bit of context. There might be new stuff that you're kind of a bit unaware of, but it doesn't usually happen when you play through the start again. The other thing as well is, we generally introduce the more complicated stuff later, and I would say that we're starting from an easier to understand base than what PoE1 had, just in terms of a lot of how the mechanics work. Like when we're looking at crafting, for example, there's certain rules that we just won't break in PoE2 as far as like how crafting works, which means it's always additive, and you don't have to worry about like all this weird stuff with mod families too much, and like all these kinds of things that mean that like it's just overall simpler. And so even though we add more stuff to it, it's like if we add a bunch more socketables, it's like I don't think anyone's really confused by that, right? It's just more socketables, and there's more mods, and in some sense, like there are more options for you, but
This is correct. If you add more of something that you already understand, it is not a big deal. But if you add a whole new system that works differently, then it is complicated.
Doesn't really like break your understanding of like how to craft or anything like that. So I think we're just kind of like in a bit of an easier place there with regard to the core systems and being able to add to those things without having to get everything too complex.
Is there like a certain point in the story you're like, okay, I think they can handle this now? Like, and how do you make that determination?
Well, ultimately, I would say that like once per act, you can add like a new game mechanic or so. So, for example, we've still got the Wisps in Act 1, but I mean, Abyss will be through the whole game because it's the new league. But ultimately, once we don't have Abyss as a league, we might choose to introduce that in like Act 2 or something like that. I don't know if it'll be there or not, but like and then we'll introduce like another one in the act after that. It's like you spread them out a little bit, and then you can still have them then appear in later acts as well. But the nice thing is just like just by spreading it out, you get that sort of nice feeling of progression without getting too crazy. But I would say one mechanic per act is probably fine. Maybe two if you're pushing it.
Okay. Going back to the first time that you launched early access, if there was one thing you could have done slightly differently, and I might have asked this in one of our other interviews, but we're getting closer to launch now. I'm curious, do you even reflect on that time and think, oh, we could have done this? Or is it just like a distant memory at this point?
I mean, it's very hard to say what we could have done differently because like I don't think we could have had the information we needed to have. Like on some level, when you're talking about a game as complex, in terms of not even necessarily complex, but it's just in terms of all the things that can mesh together. Like I don't think it's possible to exhaustively, like I don't think any amount of testing would find the problems that you need to be able to find by throwing a bunch of players at it. So it's really sort of hard to look back and say, well, we could have done this or we could have done that when it's like, how do you know? Now, what I do wish we'd have done for 020 was concentrate more on the negative things that people were saying, like even though they weren't that loud at the time. Because like, ultimately they were very important. So that's the kind of like, the mistake I don't want to make again is even when there's a bunch of positivity, still be focusing on the negative things to like kind of to tease out what it is that needs to be improved. So that's honestly what I would like hope that I could do better.
Okay, then we are really happy about 0.3 a priori. After reading the patch and watching the video, 0.3 is awesome. But since you want the negative to fix it later, I will tell you, but you already know this one. Tower suck, but you said in the interview, you know that tower suck. Okay, then I will go to the next one. Armor still sucks. You gave me the affix for armor, okay, cool, but it is applied before resistances, so it sucks. Fix the equation, fix the formula, so that armor is cool. There you have it. Cool, we are happy.
But yeah, that's kind of the main thing, I guess.
Got it. Well, my last one was going to be, so early 2026 for full release, you're thinking, but you kind of answered the question already. So yeah. So instead, I will just say thank you so much for continuing to work on Path of Exile. I know the fans appreciate it. I always love getting to chat with you, and I wish you luck with this latest release. I can't wait to try it out.
Thank you very much. See you there.
Thanks, John.
All right.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you liked that video. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell if you would like to see more. And while I have you, if you would like to support, please consider supporting over at Patreon.
Dude, this was a good video. Thank you, Destin. Thank you, Jonathan. Crazy interview. So, guys, there you have it. They are more desperate than us for releasing the game. They are focused on trying to release it early 2026. So they are trying to launch it when I said, which was April, and we have the confirmation that Druid is coming 100% in 0.4 for December, a Christmas present. So we are really fucking happy. What do you guys think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I a clown? Am I a genius? Let me know everything in the comments below. I love reading comments even when they don't agree with me. Also remember to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, all that cool stuff. Guys, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. God bless ya. And remember, don't be afraid ever, because this is just a ride.